get started. So, my name is Glen Weyl, and you can call me Glenn, you can call me Professor Weyl, you can call me Broccolini, which is a nickname people call me. You can call me any other nickname you come up with for me. My hope is that in this class we'll have more respect for ideas than we will for titles, and that you guys will all work hard enough to aim to be my colleague rather than just my students. If I get something wrong, if I make a mistake, I hope you'll correct me. And I hope if you disagree with something I'm saying, you'll raise your hand and argue with me. This class is Elements of Economic Analysis 2, otherwise known as Econ 201. It's the second quarter of intermediate microeconomics, and it pre-requires both Econ 200 and a year of calculus, which we will use. The course covers the competitive and monopolistic behavior of firms, market equilibrium and externalities, and the applications of these ideas to a range of policy issues, including regulation, competition policy, and public policies like redistribution of wealth and the provision of public goods. The main goal of the course is going to be to give you a sense of what it is like to be an economist. This is the regular rather than the turbo section. And during this first lecture, I'm going to talk logistics. I'll then discuss the reading and give you a brief outline of the course. So the course basically is going to try to do two things. First, it's going to try to give you a flavor of what it's like to be an economist. In particular, what sorts of questions do economists think about? What sort of questions do they have to think about for the type of work that they do? As an economist, I've worked for the U.S. government, the U.K. government, the governments of the European Union, of Peru, or Colombia, and I think you'll get a sense through the course of the sorts of problems that I've had to confront doing those jobs, what sort of questions people ask me, and how economics has been useful to me in trying to help them answer the questions that they have. And I'll have lots of examples drawn from my personal experience. You'll see lots of names of Latin American cities popping up throughout the course. And my hope is not just that you'll be interested in my experience, but that you'll learn to draw your own conclusions about the policy problems that I confronted. So I'll also ask you to think about how economists look at these problems distinctively from other people, from other members of the public, from people trained in other fields. Hopefully you'll get a sense of that. And I hope by the end of this you'll have a good sense of sort of what would be the stereotypical economist answer to types of social problems that people would ask. You should be able to ask for most social policy questions by the end of this class. Well, an economist would say blah, right? I'll also try to give you a sense of how economists employ the economic theory to solve social problems, and hopefully you'll be able to do that by the end of the class. So if you ever work for a government or in the private sector, thinking about the social implications of a decision that a company that you're working for is making, you'll have a sense for what might be the social costs, even if they're beneficial for the company's bottom line, of the types of actions that you take. Second, I'll try to teach the tools that you'll need to be an effective economist. Both mathematical, but also empirical tools and the ability to read and explain your ideas clearly. Okay, so this course I think is going to be a bit different than other economics courses that you may have taken. First of all, I'm going to start cold calling today on people. The goal of this is not to embarrass you. The main goal is to figure out whether people are understanding and following the course, and also to make sure that you've done the reading. And so you really should do the reading before you come to class. Second, I'm going to try to make you guys not just regurgitate what I tell you, or just sit here passively and absorb what I'm saying to you, but instead to also think about actually deriving and coming up with and discovering the ideas we're going to talk about on your own. So the problem sets rather than just being sort of like, rote algebraic computations, are going to have some of that, because you need to learn how to do those things. But the goal is going to be for the economics to guide you to the mathematics, rather than the mathematics to guide you to the right economic conclusion. And that hopefully you'll really engage with the problem sets rather than just solving them. You'll think about them and be challenged by them rather than just going through them as quickly as possible. So the problem sets, as a result, are going to be more open-ended and probably harder than problem sets you've had in previous economics classes, and they'll account for 40% of your grade. So for almost all the problem sets, you're not going to be able to solve all of it. You're probably only going to get through some part of it. Do not spend more than 4 to 8 hours on the problem sets. Spend a reasonable amount of time on the problem sets like you would spend for any other problem set. If you don't get through it all, that's fine. The class is going to be curved, scores will be low, just don't worry about it. Scores, as I said, are going to be lower in this class in general. Don't freak out about this. The distribution of grades will probably be higher because it's going to be a challenging course. That's fine. Everything will be curved to a common curve. So I really do want you to come to office hours, and so do the TAs. Philip, the TA for this class, is right over there. Okay. This course meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it has 2 sections. There's a turbo section meeting from 9 to 10:20, and then there's the regular section that you're in right now, meeting from 10:30 to 11:50. The lectures between these 2 courses are going to be quite similar, though not the same. So if you have to miss one, you can come to the other, but do let me know because I will cold call. But regular is going to be different in a few ways. So first of all, it's going to have less and easier readings than turbo is. And it's going to cover the basic material in more detail than turbo will. It's going to be less mathematical and focus more on sort of the core concepts. On the other hand, the turbo is not going to be super mathematical either. So it's not going to be nearly as mathematical as Sebastian Gay's turbo section, which meets yesterday on Mondays and Wednesdays. It's going to rely on more of the standard skills that you're used to using in economics rather than sort of pushing the boundaries of the sorts of analysis and skills you're used to using than turbo does. It's going to be more geared towards preparing you for future courses you take and less geared towards sort of the broader goal of getting you to think like an economist. And it's going to have essentially the same evaluations as the turbo section. So you don't get any advantage from being in the regular section in terms of grades. They're all going to be curved to the same curve. The regular section will be a little bit larger than the turbo section, though I should warn actually that when I saw the turbo section a few hours ago, it's basically the same size. And so if you want to be in the turbo section, I would strongly recommend getting into it as soon as you can because it is going to fill. I think it may already have filled. We have to see. So another thing is I will probably recruit some research assistants. If you're interested in potentially being a research assistant, you should probably take the turbo section because I'm going to recruit my research assistants from that section. But I would strongly recommend that you shop all 3 sections, my 2 and Sebastian's, and figure out which one works best for you. So from here on out, I'm going to assume that you guys are all in the regular section. One thing I should mention, even though I'm going to recruit the research assistants from the turbo section, if any of you guys have any experience with video or any interest in video, we really would like a videographer for the class because I want to put up the classes on the website so people can review them. And I would strongly appreciate anyone who's interested in just sitting and behind the video camera, making sure everything's all right, and then spending an hour after each pair of lectures and just cutting up the videos and putting them up on YouTube. So you'll be paid well, and it would be a great service to your classmates. Okay, so the course website is on Chalk. It's also most of the material, other than the gated stuff like the problem sets and the readings, are on my personal website, which is given here. The required readings, as well as some additional references that will help you master the material more deeply if you choose to, are given on the syllabus. You have to complete all of the required readings before you come to class, because I will cold call, as you'll see in just a minute. Extra enrichment reading list has been provided, which sort of goes even more beyond and in a broader set of areas related to each one of the lectures. So if you want more mathematical depth, if you want more relation to current events, if you feel it's not motivated by something, the way that people actually behave, there's a section on examples from literature and humanistic things and so forth. So take a look at those if you're interested. The textbook for the class is Halvarian's Intermediate Microeconomics, 8th edition. All of the readings will be on the website and can be downloaded from there. Some of the references are not actually going to be on the website because those are sort of secondary, those are not required. They'll be on reserve in the library. You can reach me here at this information. My office hours are Wednesday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. in my office, Rosenwald 205B. If you can't make these, I'll find another time, and if you want a specific time that you want blocked off for you, email my secretary Stephanie Hammond at shammond@uchicago.edu. The section leader is Philip Tillman. You're going to reach at this address. His section is going to be 4 to 5 on Mondays in Stewart 101, and his office hours will be just after lecture on Thursdays up in the cafeteria, or down in the cafeteria. And the section will mostly cover math and the problem sets. Okay. So, there are going to be 6 problem sets, which will account for 40% of your grade, a midterm that will account for 20% of your grade, and a final that will account for 30%. The midterm will occur 4:30 to 6 p.m. on Tuesday, the 1st of November in Social Sciences 122. You absolutely have to be at the midterm. You have to tell us absolutely as soon as possible if you can't be there, because we're not going to accept excuses beyond sort of, say, the end of this week. The final will be scheduled by the administration as usual and will last 3 hours. All exams will be open everything, as are the problem sets. You cannot send two-way messages in any form, no emails, no texting, whatever, and we'll monitor that. You can't talk to people, you can't make calls. But other than that, you can use the internet, you can use Mathematica, you can use anything that will help you solve the problem. Please, in particular, bring a calculator and preferably a computer with Mathematica, if you like using Mathematica, to the exams. All problem sets will be due at the beginning of lecture, and the lectures to which the problem sets are assigned are written on the syllabus. The first 3 problem sets are already up on chalk, and the first problem set is going to be due a week from Thursday at the beginning of the lecture. There will be no extensions on problem sets, so be there to turn them in. Problem sets are going to be long and they're going to be hard. And again, you are not expected to complete the whole problem set. Most people will not complete most of the problem set. Everything will be curved, and 10% of the grade will come from participation, and we really mean this. There will be cold calls during lectures, and there will be, and we will take attendance at the sections. So if you need to miss a section, let your section leader know. Please do show up for both the lectures and the sections as a result. If you can't come, you have to let us know. Okay. So let me now talk about the reading you had to do. So I wanted to launch this class by talking about what I think is sort of a really powerful and persuasive example of economic analysis at its best. Milton Friedman's Capital